I've talked to a few folks, had the good fortune to have some folks on the show who've told us about their experience editing, and it seems fairly common that they get to a point where they have a child or two, and then it's time to look at agenting. So, what is it about becoming a parent that makes agenting maybe a more attractive prospect than being an editor?
Well, that's so interesting. I think there is a certain amount of flexibility in agenting in terms of when you do it and how you do it. I am lucky to have this office at home, but we also have Upstart Crow has an office that's sort of like a half-hour walk from where I live, which is great. But I can go there, I can be here as ever I need to be. My kids are older now, so I'm actually pretty 9 to 5. But certainly when they were younger, the flexibility was really, really important for me. Also, for me, I think I love the independence and the autonomy. I think a lot of different agencies work differently. But at Upstart Crow, at the agencies that I've been, because I was at the Bent agency before this, something that I love about both of those places is that there's really a ton of freedom in terms of who it is that I decide to take on as clients. And Upstart Crow, I have the most amazing colleagues. I love all of them. We are constantly talking together, sharing notes, putting together ideas about what to do for this client, and feedback on writing from the client. So I feel like I really have a whole team with me, but I'm kind of a mini business within a business. And I love that. I love running my own show, basically. I don't know if that directly relates to having a kid, or I have 2 kids, to having kids or not. Maybe, but anyway, it sort of all coincided for me.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Upstart Crow. So I assume that if you want to take on a client, you're doing it. You don't need to check with the rest of the agency. They don't
Right.
get to weigh in and say, no, Susan, not this one. Or yes, Susan, you should
Correct.
definitely. Why'd you?
I mean, I do share, that's not to say that I don't share stuff from clients that I'm considering with my colleagues, because as I say, I mean, I adore them and value their opinion highly, but I do not have to do that, and I frequently don't do that. And you know what it is? More often for picture books, I would share somebody, because I love to hear what other people think about the art, the illustration style, if I'm looking at an author-illustrator. For novels, that's really just more of a me decision.
And you know each other's taste pretty well, so that if you're looking at something like, I'm just not 100% on board, but I think that my co-agent might like this, you know who to refer that to, right?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
And I like to ask everybody, I like to give you just a nice open spot to talk a little bit about the Upstart Crow. So of all the agencies that an esteemed audience could be sending their queries to, why is Upstart Crow the best?
Oh, well, here's what I love about Upstart Crow. So I already talked about one part of it, and that's the fact that we are a really tight-knit group, the agents at Upstart Crow. So the agents at Upstart Crow are me, obviously. And then there's Alex Penfold, Danielle Ciotti, and Kayla Ticello. And we are always talking together and supporting each other, and really helping each other out. And I feel like having if you're my client, you're never going to be in contact with any of those other people. You're always going to be talking to me. But that sort of invisible but very real support that is behind every client at the agency, I think is really massive. in addition, we're a small agency, and none of us have a massive list of clients. And what that means is that all of us individually, and so the agency as a whole, are really able to be very focused on each client's work, what's happening with them, building their career, thinking big picture, as well as, all right, what do we need to do on this edit right now? That ability to think kind of dimensionally, given what's going on at a moment, I think is really, really special. I also, where we come from is a little bit different than I think at some agencies. Alex was an editor. Oh, I forgot to mention Michael Stearns also. He runs the agency. He doesn't have his own clients, but he runs the agency, and he's always in conversation with all of us. So Alex was an editor. Michael was an editor. Danielle was an editor. I was on the marketing side, and Kayla came from SCBWI. So that background, that experience on the publishing side, but also, Kayla's experience at SCBWI, I think it gives us a perspective on the business that is different than some other agencies. We really, really understand what it's like on the other side of the desk. I think that means that we can provide perspective and kind of intel on what's happening out there. Once the client's work is out there in the world, that isn't always out there in some other agencies. So we're just the best, Rob. We are. We really are.
And you're full service, right? So all rights are going to be represented. You're going to be shopping for movie deals and foreign rights and audio books and everything else.
Yeah, totally. So Michael actually handles the subsidiary rights. And one thing that I love about the agency is that we are small, but we work with a lot of through Michael. He manages those relationships. He works directly with a lot of foreign rights agencies all around the world. So we have really good coverage in territories everywhere. And Michael is also really in touch with people on the film and TV side, and always talking up the books, sharing the books, and making those connections happen too. So some smaller agencies, I think people sometimes they work with one foreign rights person then they will be in touch with the different sub-agents. We're kind of one less middleman there. And I think it makes a big difference.
In terms of just making sure that you're getting more rights secured?
Yeah, just being closer to the process and more directly in touch with what's happening when we send something out to the foreign agents, what they're hearing, what the feedback is, how it's going. We are just closer to that than in some other agencies.
And how many clients are you representing at the moment?
You know what? I'd have to go actually exactly count right now, but I'm about 30 people. And I always am. I don't think I'm ever going to be a person there. There are some agents who have a really big list, like 60 people. And that's never going to be me. It's just different styles. That would be too many for me. But I am always looking to grow. I would like to be sort of in the 35, maybe a little bit more than that, but I'm close to the top of where I think a good number of people for me is.